What if I told you the way you cook could be silently stealing your eyesight, one meal at a time? Most people over 60 believe they are eating healthy, a little grilled chicken, some veggies, maybe a bowl of oatmeal. But here's the shocking truth. 99% of people have no idea that their cooking habits might actually be aging their eyes faster than the calendar ever could. You might be avoiding junk food, cutting down on sugar, even using olive oil, and still losing vision clarity, struggling to read fine print, or noticing that colors just don't look as bright as they used to. And it's not because of age, it's because of what's happening in your kitchen. See, after 60, your eyes become more sensitive to oxidation, sugar, and heat damage. But most people keep cooking like they always have, frying, boiling, over-seasoning, or skipping the fats that actually feed the eyes. You may think you're helping your health, but in reality, every meal might be dimming your vision little by little. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because I'm not here to tell you to give up your favorite foods. I'm here to show you how to cook them smarter. In this video, we're exposing the top 5 cooking mistakes that make your eyes age faster, and trust me, number 3 will change the way you see food forever. So, if you care about keeping your vision sharp, your colors bright, and your eyes young for decades to come, you're in the right place. Before we jump in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us bring you more doctor-backed tips to keep your body and your eyesight in top shape. All right, ready? Let's uncover the cooking habits that might be aging your eyes faster than you think. Mistake number 1, frying everything, the hidden oxidation trap. Let's start with one of the most common and most harmful cooking habits I see in my clinic, frying food. I get it. Fried foods taste amazing. They remind us of home, comfort, and family gatherings. But once you're past 60, frying becomes one of the worst things you can do for your eyes. Here's why. Every time you heat oil past its smoke point, it breaks down and forms toxic compounds called lipid peroxides and free radicals. These unstable molecules enter your bloodstream and can damage delicate eye structures like the retina, the lens, and especially the macula, the part responsible for sharp, detailed vision. Think of it like this. If your oil smokes, your eyes choke. A 2018 study in the Nutrients Journal found that people who ate fried food 3 or more times a week had a 34% higher risk of macular degeneration. Another paper in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that diets high in oxidized oils increased the risk of cataracts by nearly 30%. And most of these toxins are invisible. You can't see or taste them, but they quietly build up over time. I once treated a patient named Elena, a 71-year-old retired teacher who loved her fried chicken. Her cholesterol and blood pressure looked fine, but her eye scans revealed early macular degeneration. When we switched her to baking and sautéing with olive oil, her inflammation markers dropped within 2 months. 6 months later, her eye doctor saw less stress on her macula. That's not luck, that's chemistry. Your eyes are especially vulnerable because they use more oxygen than almost any other organ. That high demand means they're already exposed to a lot of oxidative stress. When you add oxidized fats from fried food, you're pouring gasoline on the fire. Over time, this speeds up age-related vision loss. One of the biggest culprits is reused oil. Reheating oil over and over multiplies its breakdown and releases compounds like acrolein, a toxin known to inflame and stiffen blood vessels, including the tiny ones in your eyes. So here's my rule as a doctor and as a cook. Never reuse oil, not even once. If it's dark or smells burnt, it belongs in the trash, not your pan. Now, I'm not saying you can never enjoy crispy food again. You just need to cook smarter. Air fryers and ovens can create the same crunch with a fraction of the damage. A 2022 food chemistry study found that air-fried foods contained about 70% fewer oxidation byproducts than deep-fried ones. Baking at moderate heat with olive or avocado oil preserves nutrients and avoids those dangerous reactions. Not all oils are equal either. Olive and avocado oils are rich in antioxidants and have stable structures that resist oxidation. Avoid cheap vegetable or corn oils. They break down fast and produce harmful aldehydes even before you see smoke. The truth is, what happens in your pan doesn't stay in your pan. Fried food also affects blood sugar, cholesterol, and circulation, all of which tie directly to eye health. People who eat less fried food have better vision, stronger hearts, and even sharper memory. That's because the same oxidized fats that cloud your retina also slow blood flow to your brain. So, if you love your fried favorites, treat them like dessert, something to enjoy occasionally, not every day. Swap deep-fried for oven-roasted, add herbs for flavor instead of grease, and remember that every choice in the kitchen either protects your sight or shortens it. Ask yourself this: if that crispy piece of chicken cost you a little bit of your eyesight each year, would it still be worth it? For most of my patients, once they make the connection, the answer is clear. After 40 years in medicine, I can tell you this, your frying pan may be aging your eyes faster than time itself. But the good news is you can stop it. Use better oils, lower the heat, and cook in ways that keep your body and your vision strong. Because seeing the world clearly in your 70s isn't about luck, it's about the choices you make at the stove today. Mistake number 2, overcooking vegetables, killing the eye's natural defenses. The second cooking mistake that quietly damages your eyes is overcooking vegetables. Most people think they're doing the right thing by eating their greens, but if you boil or microwave them until they're limp and dull, you're actually destroying the very nutrients that protect your vision. Your eyes rely heavily on two powerful antioxidants, lutein and zeaxanthin. These nutrients act like natural sunglasses, filtering harmful blue light and fighting off free radicals before they can damage the retina and macula, which are responsible for sharp, detailed vision. The problem is, both are extremely sensitive to heat. Studies show that boiling spinach for more than 3 minutes can destroy nearly half its lutein, and microwaving broccoli too long can wipe out over 60% of its vitamin C and carotenoids. I remember a patient of mine, Thomas, a 69-year-old retired engineer who came to me complaining that his vision had become dull. He ate vegetables every day, but he boiled them to death. His healthy green beans were soft and brown by the time they hit his plate. When we adjusted his cooking style, lightly steaming instead of boiling, sautéing spinach with olive oil and roasting peppers instead of frying, the results were remarkable. Within a few months, his energy returned and his eye scans showed stronger macular pigment density, a clear sign his retinas were healthier and better protected. Overcooking vegetables doesn't just make them taste bland, it literally drains the life out of them. When vegetables lose their bright color, it means their antioxidants are gone too. Those vibrant pigments, the deep greens, oranges, and reds, are what help your eyes fight oxidative stress and aging. Think of it this way. If your greens still look green after cooking, you're doing it right. Research confirms that how you cook your vegetables can be just as important as which ones you eat. A 2020 review in Nutrients found that seniors with higher levels of lutein and zeaxanthin had a 26% lower risk of age-related macular degeneration. But the same study noted that people who overcooked their vegetables absorbed far less of these nutrients. Cooking methods that use gentle heat, like steaming, roasting, or quick sautéing, preserve antioxidants far better than boiling or long microwave sessions. And pairing vegetables with healthy fats, such as olive oil or avocado oil, can actually boost nutrient absorption since these eye-protecting compounds dissolve in fat. There's another hidden risk to overcooking. It can increase the formation of advanced glycation end products, or AGE, toxic compounds that form when food is exposed to prolonged heat. AGEs accelerate tissue aging throughout the body, including the eyes. Researchers from ophthalmic research found that people with higher dietary AGE levels were significantly more likely to develop cataracts before age 70. So every extra minute your vegetables spend boiling away might be aging your eyes faster. Here's what I tell my patients. Cook your vegetables just until they're tender but still vibrant. Keep the color, keep the crunch. If they fall apart on your fork, you've gone too far. Don't pour out the cooking water either. It's full of vitamins and minerals. Use it in soups or sauces to get back what might have leached out. And always remember, the way you prepare your vegetables can be the difference between fueling your vision or slowly fading it. Ask yourself, does your dinner plate look bright and colorful or pale and tired? That answer says a lot about how well your eyes are aging. Treat your vegetables and your eyesight with a little more care. Because when you cook them right, you're not just feeding your body, you're protecting the very lens through which you see the world. Mistake number 3, skipping healthy fats, starving your retina of fuel. This one might surprise you, but cutting out fat can actually harm your eyes. For decades, we've been told that fat is bad, that it clogs arteries and adds inches to the waistline. So many people over 60 switched to low-fat everything, skim milk, fat-free dressings, non-stick sprays, thinking they were doing the right thing. But here's the truth. Your eyes need fat to stay healthy. The retina, especially the macula, the part of your eye responsible for sharp, central vision, is made up of more than 50% fat. Most of that fat is DHA, a type of omega-3 fatty acid that keeps the visual cells flexible and strong. Without enough healthy fat, your eyes can't properly absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, the nutrients that protect the cornea, prevent dryness, and guard against retinal damage. A major Harvard Medical School study found that seniors who ate more omega-3 rich foods had a 38% lower risk of developing age-related macular degeneration. Another large study in JAMA Ophthalmology found that eating fish twice a week could cut that risk by almost 40%. Those aren't small numbers. That's the difference between maintaining clear vision and slowly losing it. Yet, when we cook or eat in a low-fat way, like using spray oil or boiling vegetables without any healthy oils, we strip away our body's ability to absorb the nutrients our eyes depend on. I think about my patient Martha, a 74-year-old retired nurse who had followed a strict low-fat diet for years. She ate plenty of vegetables and salads, but never added dressing, avocado, or nuts. Her blood work looked fine, but her eyes were chronically dry, and she complained of blurry night vision. When we added a few servings of salmon each week, a drizzle of olive oil on her salads, and a handful of walnuts for snacks, the change was remarkable. Within 2 months, her eyes felt more comfortable, and her vision at night had noticeably improved. Science explains it clearly. Omega-3s keep the tear film stable and reduce inflammation inside the retina. Healthy fats don't just protect your vision, they're also essential for the brain and nerves that connect your eyes to it. A study from the American Academy of Neurology found that seniors with higher levels of omega-3 had both better vision and sharper mental function. It's no coincidence. The same fatty acids that protect your eyes also nourish your brain cells. So the question is, when was the last time you deliberately added a healthy fat to your plate? Many people over 60 are so focused on cutting calories that they forget their eyes and their brains run on fat for fuel. The solution isn't complicated. Bring back the right fats. Use extra virgin olive oil when cooking or on vegetables. Eat fatty fish like salmon, sardines, or mackerel a couple of times a week. Snack on almonds, walnuts, or pumpkin seeds. Add avocado to your breakfast or toss chia seeds into your yogurt. These small habits add up and provide your eyes with the steady supply of nutrients they need. At the same time, stay away from trans fats and hydrogenated oils, the kinds found in margarine, processed snacks, and fast food. These unhealthy fats don't just fail to nourish your eyes. They block nutrient absorption and speed up aging throughout the body. One of my other patients, George, a 68-year-old accountant, learned this lesson the hard way. He was proud of his diet, lots of vegetables, no fried food, no oils. But he cooked everything in a dry pan or steamed it plain. When he started having trouble focusing in bright light, we looked closer and realized his diet was missing the healthy fats needed to keep his macula strong. Once he added olive oil and fish back into his meals, his eyes improved, and he told me he could read comfortably again without squinting. So if you take one thing from this, remember, your eyes don't just need food, they need the right kind of fuel. Fat isn't your enemy, the wrong fats are. The good ones, omega-3s, olive oil, nuts, avocados, are your allies in keeping your vision clear, your eyes moist, and your mind sharp. So the next time you reach for that fat-free label, ask yourself, are you really helping your heart, or are you quietly starving your sight? Mistake number 4, using too much salt and sugar, the double trouble for your eyes. Salt and sugar, they make food taste good, but too much of either can quietly harm your eyes from the inside out. Most people know that excess salt raises blood pressure and too much sugar can lead to diabetes, but few realize how directly both affect vision. When you cook with too much salt, whether it's in soups, sauces, or heavy seasoning, you increase your blood pressure. Over time, that pressure damages the tiny blood vessels in your retina, leading to a condition called hypertensive retinopathy. It's like small cracks forming in a camera lens. The higher the pressure, the blurrier your world becomes. Studies from the American Heart Association show that people who regularly consume more than 200-300 milligrams of sodium a day are nearly twice as likely to develop retinal damage as those who keep it under 100-500 milligrams. High sodium also reduces blood flow to the optic nerve, raising the risk of glaucoma and permanent vision loss. I once treated Carol, a 70-year-old retired librarian who loved her homemade soups but was heavy-handed with the salt. She told me she felt fine, but her eye doctor noticed early signs of vascular damage in her retina. We replaced her salt with fresh herbs, garlic, lemon, and low-sodium broth. Within a few months, her blood pressure normalized and her eye scans looked healthier. She told me she couldn't believe how much better her food and her vision felt. Now let's talk about sugar, the other half of this dangerous duo. The damage it causes goes far beyond cavities or weight gain. Excess sugar triggers a process called glycation, where sugar molecules attach to proteins in your eyes, forming sticky compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGE. These AGEs cloud the lens, stiffen the retina, and create inflammation that leads to cataracts and macular degeneration. The British Journal of Nutrition published a 2021 study showing that people with high sugar intake had a 57% higher risk of advanced eye disease compared to those who consumed less. Even if you're not diabetic, Consistently high sugar can starve your eyes of oxygen by thickening blood vessels and slowing circulation. One of my patients, Harold, a 66-year-old jazz musician, loved his barbecue sauce, a blend of ketchup, brown sugar, and molasses. He didn't realize one serving packed more than 20 grams of sugar, nearly his entire daily limit. When he switched to spice-based rubs with paprika, black pepper, and a touch of lime, not only did his blood sugar improve, but 6 months later his eye doctor noticed healthier blood flow in his retina. Harold laughed and said, "Doc, I didn't know flavor could fix my eyes." If you're wondering whether you're guilty of this mistake, take a look at your pantry. Processed foods, bottled sauces, and condiments often hide huge amounts of salt and sugar. The average American consumes about 400 milligrams of sodium and more than 17 teaspoons of added sugar daily, both far beyond healthy limits. The effects might not show up right away, but over time they increase inflammation, raise blood pressure, and wear down the small blood vessels that feed your eyes. You don't have to give up flavor to protect your vision. Start by seasoning smarter. Use herbs like rosemary, dill, or thyme, and add a splash of lemon or vinegar to brighten taste without salt. For sweetness, rely on nature. Roasted carrots, sweet potatoes, caramelized onions, and even beets add natural sweetness to meals without spiking your blood sugar. If you crave something sweet, pair fruit with protein or fiber to slow the sugar's impact. Your taste buds will adapt faster than you think, and your food will still taste satisfying, just fresher and cleaner. Salt and sugar are sneaky because they work together to magnify harm. High salt tightens blood vessels while high sugar inflames them, creating a perfect storm that accelerates eye aging. People who eat a lot of processed foods, which often contain both, show faster declines in vision as they age. Cutting back on one helps, but reducing both can make an even bigger difference. As a doctor, I've seen time and again how small dietary changes can protect sight for years. So before you reach for the salt shaker or drizzle another spoonful of sauce, ask yourself, is this extra flavor worth the risk to my eyes? Vision fades slowly, meal by meal, but you have the power to slow it down. Season wisely, eat mindfully, and remember, your eyes see every choice you make. Mistake number 5, ignoring color and variety, starving your eyes of antioxidants. One of the biggest mistakes older adults make without realizing it is eating the same few foods every day. Routine meals might be easy and comforting, but your eyes depend on color, and without it, they start to lose their natural defenses. Every bright color in fruits and vegetables represents a specific antioxidant that helps protect your vision. Orange and yellow foods like carrots, corn, and bell peppers are rich in beta-carotene and lutein, nutrients that filter blue light and defend against oxidative stress. Green vegetables such as spinach, kale, and broccoli supply zeaxanthin, a pigment that shields your macula and helps maintain sharp central vision. Blue and purple foods like blueberries, grapes, and eggplant contain anthocyanins that improve blood flow to the retina, while red foods like tomatoes and watermelon are packed with lycopene, which protects against cataracts and retinal inflammation. When you fill your plate with beige foods, rice, bread, potatoes, pasta, you rob your eyes of the antioxidants they need to stay strong. The Harvard Nurses' Health Study, which followed over 100,000 participants, found that people who ate the most colorful fruits and vegetables had a 40% lower risk of vision decline compared to those who ate the least. Similarly, research from the University of Wisconsin showed that individuals with higher blood levels of lutein and zeaxanthin had sharper vision and a much slower rate of macular thinning, one of the earliest signs of aging eyes. I once met a 74-year-old woman who told me her vision felt flat. Colors looked dull and less vibrant. When I looked at her diet, everything was beige: oatmeal, chicken, potatoes, bread. We set a simple goal I call the Rainbow Plate Challenge. 7 colors a day every day. It didn't matter where they came from: orange peppers in an omelet, blueberries in yogurt, purple cabbage in a salad. 3 months later, she said she could see the shades of green in her backyard trees again. That's not imagination, that's biology. When your retina gets the right nutrients, its light-sensitive cells function better, making colors appear brighter and vision clearer. Science backs this up. A 2022 study published in Ophthalmology Science found that older adults who ate at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables daily had a 32% lower risk of developing serious vision problems. A diet rich in antioxidants, vitamins A, C, E, and carotenoids like lutein and zeaxanthin, protects eye tissue from oxidative damage and slows diseases like macular degeneration. On the other hand, diets low in color and variety speed up that decline. So take a moment and look at your plate. Is it colorful or dull? Because the more color you eat, the more protection you're giving your eyes. Aim for at least 3 different colors at every meal. Rotate your vegetables weekly so you're not stuck in the same routine. Don't skip frozen fruits and vegetables. They're often just as nutritious as fresh, sometimes even more because they're frozen at peak ripeness. Mix spinach into your eggs, toss bright peppers into your stir-fry, add berries to your cereal, or use red cabbage in your tacos. Small habits like these can make a real difference. Your eyes are living organs that respond to what you feed them. Color fuels them, strengthens them, and keeps them young. So the next time you sit down to eat, remember this simple rule. If your plate looks dull, your vision might be heading that way too. The more color you bring to your meals, the more color you'll continue to see in the world around you. So now you know protecting your vision after 60 isn't just about getting your eyes checked or taking supplements. It starts in your kitchen, with the choices you make every single day. The oil you use, the way you cook your vegetables, the colors on your plate, these small details can either protect your eyesight or slowly dim it. When you fry less, cook gently, bring back healthy fats, and fill your meals with vibrant colors. You're not just eating better, you're feeding your eyes the nutrients they've been craving for years. Because the truth is, your eyes don't age overnight, they age one meal at a time. But the best part? You can slow it down and even reverse some of the damage starting right now. Remember, your vision is your window to the world, to your loved ones, your memories, your future. Keep it clear, keep it bright, and don't let bad cooking habits steal it away. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep creating more science-based videos to help you live stronger, see clearer, and feel younger one meal at a time. Thank you for watching, and take care of those eyes. They've seen a lifetime of beautiful things, and they deserve to see so much more. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, keep cooking smart and seeing bright.